Welcome back, everyone, to the FloTrack podcast. Happy Friday. I am Kevin. He is Gordon. Subscribe if you haven't yet to the FloTrack podcast YouTube page. I'm still in Austin, Texas. Gordon on location at the site of the NCAA Indoor Championships in Birmingham. Gordon, good morning. How are things out there?
Good. My internet connection looks like it is going up and down. I see my Wi-Fi signal like checking in. So if you lose me any
Yeah.
moment, I'm gonna have to relog in. But just so you know, hopefully things are working. I don't know, but I'm in Birmingham, Alabama. I'm
hmm
at the NCAA. Wait, hold on. Photo.
There it is. There it is. There it
NCAA.
is.
I got this little mug. This little
Nice.
mug. So that's good. Yeah. Birmingham. NCAA starts tonight. Also goes into tomorrow. Excited.
Any last thoughts? You've been talking to coaches. You've been seeing people warm up. You've been seeing a lot of strides, a lot of block starts, probably. Uh, any last thoughts before the champs begin?
Well, I mean, a lot of my thoughts are kind of like personal thoughts, to be honest, because I mentioned it on the podcast Wednesday. This is the first time I've been at a track meet since Albuquerque 2020. Because all the 2021 track meets I was covering remotely. We were
Yeah.
interviewing athletes on Zoom and like doing all these weird hurdles and rules of how to interact with them. So
hmm
I'm just excited that it feels normal. I was like, this felt like 2016, 2017, 2018 all over again. And I was here
hmm
in, was it 2016 or 19? When was
Oh,
Birmingham? 19 and
it was
16,
19.
right?
19,
Yeah.
19 was Holloway. I was there with you for that one. That was a Holloway year.
Yeah. 19 was Holloway. 2016 was the Cheserek year where he pulled off that incredible triple, the year he should have won the Bowerman. So this is bringing back
Mm.
those memories of Cheserek's incredible DMR 5K, 3K performance. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's exciting. I saw Abby Steiner on the track doing some pre-meet. I saw, all the jumpers and sprinters, and it was great. I'm excited.
Yeah. I'm glad you're
Ran
out
into the
there.
NAU
Glad you're out
boys.
there.
Ran into the NAU
Nice.
boys. They're a big three of three athletes that potentially could be a podium team, which would be crazy. So yeah, it's good.
This episode of the FloTrack podcast is sponsored by Hoka, maker of the brand new Cielo X, the most advanced spike shoe yet. Got the MD for mid distance, the LD for long distance. I got the long distance ones in front of me. Gordon has the white mid distance ones in front of him. The website, again, Hoka.com. Hoka, faster, forward. Let's do an update, Gordon, on the prediction. Sorry, the FloTrack. I got to get the branding right here. Let's get an update on the FloTrack pick'em. Let's get an update on that because we're adding an extra pick that people can participate in. So let's update the folks on how this works if they're just now tuning in.
So we have 5 picks, now 6, where you guys got to pick the correct answer for a result that's going to happen at NCAA's. First question, NAU's total points with Abdi Hamanur and Nico Young. They're both in the 3K, 5K. How many points total are they going to score? 30 plus, 20 to 29, 10 to 19, or 9 or less. Note, this does not count if Drew Bosley scores. Drew Bosley scores 2 points in the 5K. Doesn't count towards that. It's just those two guys combined. How are they going to do? I went with 30 plus. You went with 20 to 29. Next question is Abby Steiner. Will she run sub 22 seconds in the 200? I think it's not going to happen, but I think it could happen, but I think it's not going to happen. But because she's run 22:09, but if she were to run sub 22, that would be the freaking race of the weekend. But we're
Mm-hmm.
both going with a no there. And then the next question on the sprint side is Randolph Ross. Will Randolph Ross break Michael Norman's 400-meter American record of 44:52? It's the fastest time ever run indoors. Will he break it? Yes or no? We're both going with the yes. I think we're both going with yes because we both went to North Carolina A&T a few weeks ago to film a workout Wednesday. We had some interaction with him. We had an interaction with his coach, his dad. And we kind of got a vibe like this guy's going to break this freaking record. So we're both going with the yes there. So hint, that's a little insider information. We talked to him. I don't know if that's insider information, but whatever. And then the final two questions are who's going to win the team title on the men's side and the women's side. Women's side, we're both going with Florida. Men's side, I think we have different picks. I forget who I picked on the men's side. Men's side, I'm going with
Pick Georgia.
No, I think that's wrong. I think I'm going with Georgia, and Kevin's going with North Carolina A&T. So we have to update that website. But you're going with North Carolina A&T. I'm going with Georgia. And then the final pick, the new pick. Who's going to get more right, me or Kevin? So basically, this is you have a 50% chance to be right. I always say, trust your gut and go with Gordon because Gordon 50% of the time is always right. So that's all I got to say about that. But yeah, you can get bonus points if you correctly predict who is more accurate, me or Kevin.
And if it's tie, it goes to me, correct? Since I lost last week against you in Tokyo?
No, it's alphabetical order. It goes to G, so Gordon.
Okay. All right. Well, those are the picks. I'm locked in on mine. I feel pretty good about mine. Just to follow up on the Ross thing, you mentioned Fats and Norman's time because there was no drug testing at that year's championships. It would be a world record too. So you're basically picking Randolph Ross to not only beat Norman's time, but that would be the world record that is currently officially held by Karan Clement. So FloTrack Pick'em, check it out. Is there anything else people need to know as it pertains to this week's contest, Gordon?
No, just got to put your phone number in to be eligible. Again, if you go 5 for 5 on the Pick'em, you get, or let's make it 5 for 6 because we added an extra one. You get be in the running to win a Fanatics gift card. And we just started this, right? We did Tokyo Marathon last week. We're doing this week. We'll do Worlds next week. But we're going to increase the prizes as more people get in and make it more fun. It's going to be an ongoing segment and get you guys involved with seeing how smart you guys are with watching track and field compared to Kevin and I.
And if you think you got a good handle on these picks, you could win because Tokyo, I thought we'd have 1 million people get all three right. Mostly because you got all three right. And I thought, well, if Gordon can do it, most people could do it. And very few people got it. So with 5 and with questions that are this difficult, like trying to forecast the men's team race, there's going to be very few people who go 5 for 5. So you have to like your chances of being one of those big winners if you're in the mix, because I think it's going to be a very small number of people who actually are going to get 5 for 5. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see it. I will be one of those people. Who's going to join me in the winner's circle next week? That's what I want to know. Who is going to be there sitting at Gordon? Now, because Gordon and I overlap on 3 of the picks, Gordon will get 3 out of 5. I guarantee you, Gordon, you will get a 60% hit rate. The problem is you'll be going against a guy who's going to be batting 1,000. Sorry.
Got it. Hey, 60% hit rate is like Hall of Famer. So
beyond Hall of Fame in terms of picks. You're making money. You're making money if you're going 60%. All right, so the champs start this afternoon, and we did the whole preview last time. So we're going to look more ahead because by the time people listen to this, you might even be past day 1 of the NCAA Indoor Championships, and Gordon will have a full recap and all coverage on the ground. So I wanted to talk about some news from the World Indoor Championships, which are going to be the following weekend. And just before we started recording, I log on to Twitter. I see this tweet from World Athletics promoting a matchup in the 400 between Shaunae Miller-Weibo and Femke Bol. And I'm wondering, hey, when is this happening? This can't be at World Indoors. But then lo and behold, I see the graphic at the bottom of the photo, and it says World Indoor Championships there at the bottom, Belgrade 2022. So apparently, Shaunae Miller-Weibo is going to debut at the World Indoor Championships. She's making her 2022 debut at the World Indoor Championships. She hasn't run a race since the Olympic final. And she apparently is going to race this 400 at World Indoors. Now, if you haven't been paying attention to the 400 on the global scene, because a lot of attention gets paid on the NCAA side, but it gets overlooked globally because a lot of the big names don't show up. Femke Bol has basically been having her way with that event. And yes, she's a 400-meter hurdler, but she's very good in the flat 400. And she's been churning out win after win after win over in Europe. So this is going to be actually a tough test, I think, for Shawnee Miller-Weibo. Now, all things being equal, you obviously would take Shawnee Miller-Weibo, but the fact that it's her debut and Bowl has looked so sharp, I think makes this an interesting matchup. And we're used to having strange underdog type winners in the 400 at these World Indoor Championships or just pro 400s in general indoors. This will not be the case because one of these two women is going to win, and they're obviously both established names.
Yeah, and obviously there's the unique circumstance of it being a debut or a season debut for
Yeah.
Shawnee Miller-Weibo. It's kind of wild how when you are an athlete in certain countries, you can kind of just go this route. You don't need in USA. There's so many people who technically want to be on a world team that we do this whole trials thing. You got to have a regular season. You got to qualify for the trials, et cetera, et cetera. But here, if you're just one of the best in your country all time, you can just be like, hey, I'm going to do this.
You send
And
a
then like
text.
a week before, send a text. Send the text. I'm in. And then you
I'm
show
in.
up. You don't have to, you know. But it'll be interesting to see how she does. I don't know. Like it's one of those things where obviously Shawnee Miller-Weibo is the faster runner. I don't think anyone would deny that.
Correct.
But Femke Bowl is showing consistency on the indoor season. And not just consistency, legit consistency. 50.3, as you know, when we're used to seeing women running 49s and 48s at the top level, 50.3 indoors is equivalent to like a 49 at least outdoor. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not like she's throwing down 51 second times. That's like, all right,
Mm-hmm.
that's nice and all, but run something quick. 50.3 is quick. And she's run 50.3 times this season. So I think Femke Bowl will be a tough challenge. And dare I say it, I think Femke Bowl might win. I'm willing to go with she might win.
Mm-hmm. Well, on the all-time list, Miller-Weibo has run 50.21, and Bowl is at 50.3. Now, the difference is Miller-Weibo's 50.21 comes from last year, and Bowl, as I mentioned, has just been tearing it up, putting her best performances out there this year. Do you know how rare a Shawnee Miller-Weibo indoor 400 is? Prior to the one that you're looking at on the all-time list there, 50-21. When's the last time she ran an indoor 400? She's run 300s indoors and 200s indoors. When's the last time she ran a 400 indoors?
I'm guessing college.
2014.
Is that college? Yeah.
I think that's the year after college.
No, year after college. Wow.
Yeah.
I think that shows that, you know, we harp on this all season long, but like the top athletes, while there are some that do appreciate indoor, there are a lot that are like indoor is not my thing. I'm an
Mhm.
out my job is running outdoors, not indoors. And when someone like Shawnee Miller-Weibo can only run a 400 a few times
Mhm.
in her long career,
Yeah.
kind of shows how much they look at indoors. So
I didn't even rank it this year. I've been in the pro rankings show, and I was like, I'm going to do all the running events for indoors. So 60, that are contested at the World Championship. So 60 hurdles, 400, 15, 3K. But then the 400, I just left blank because basically it's your college rankings. And on the women's side, it would be Femke Bowl and then your college rankings. So there was no interest in it. Now, her entering late puts some interest, but it puts interest into a one meet scenario. Looking at the chat here, it looks like a lot of people are picking Miller-Weibo, which yeah, you don't blame people for going that route. You know, she's run 48.3 outdoors. The difference is how is she going to do in an indoor setting in a one-off in a debut. But I'm excited that it's happening. Again, I saw that announcement and I was like, wait, is this real? Um, and very, very pleased that we're going to get a good 400 indoors. So it's cool.
yeah, Tampa Eagle member for 2 months now says Miller for sure, and Jay Moss Miller Weibo by a mile. I don't think she's going to win by a
Mm-hmm.
mile because imagine winning a 400 by a mile.
Be tough. Be tough.
That's really hard to
Yeah,
do. That would be incredible.
I said this before with Coleman at Milrose. Hey, he's not going to run unless he's ready to run. You got to feel the same way about Miller Weibo because they've been paying attention to what's going on in the rest of the track world. They know how well Bull's going to be running. I just think it's interesting because if you're looking at a pro athlete who's only going to run one race indoors, that one race is never usually the world championships. That one race is it's Milrose, it's Birmingham,
Yeah.
it's Tarun,
Yeah.
it's New Balance Indoor Grand Prix, and then they call it a season. It's never, all right, yeah, I'm going to open this thing up. I mean, this is basically her outdoor season opener, but it takes place indoors in a way because of when the
Yeah.
timing is. World Indoors is late this year, so you're mid to late March. She's going to run this, and then she's probably going to go on her way and run another race a couple weeks later outdoors in Florida. It just so happens that her debut happens to be in Serbia at the World Indoor Championships. So you couldn't pick two more divergent paths to this race. One person's a 400-meter hurdler who's been racing all indoor season. The other person, 400-meter champion, who will be stepping the line for the first time this season. So very excited to see that. In terms of entries, Gordon, we got the Team USA entries out as well too. A couple surprises on here, to say the least. So we have for the men in the 60, Eli Hall qualified by virtue of that World Indoor Tour victory, but he's not entered. So it's just Bracey and Coleman. The 400, Trevor Bassett won the quarter. Donovan Brazier was runner up, but he does not currently have a spot in the open four. That's Marquez Washington, but Brazier is listed in the 4x4 pool. So I'm assuming that means that he turned down the spot and is just interested in the 4x4. And then the 3000, just Dylan Maggard is entered. And then I saw Chris Chavez tweeted and Emmanuel Bohr posted that he's not going to be competing in World Indoors. He's of course a member of WCAP with the Army, and um, he will not be competing after. According to Chris's tweet, it says after decision by the U.S. Army. So don't want to speculate on that too much, just because we don't have all the facts. But I'm guessing that decision was made late, which inhibited the ability to get other entrants in because we're already on. Remember, because Hawker passed it, so you're at Bohr and Maggard, and then that next group you'd go Maggard to Connor Mance or Maggard to Drew Hunter. But this stuff happens in such a quick turnaround, and processing has to take place. So I can understand why that didn't get resolved. But I guess first let's start with the Brazier news. We talked about it before when we initially saw that Washington wasn't going to be or was going to be on the open 4x4 team. Are you surprised that it's going to be just Brazier in the 4x4 and he wouldn't take the open spot?
Well, yeah, I'm surprised, and guessing this is the coaches thinking that they don't want Donovan to be running too many 400s individually, and I don't know why. I mean,
Who do you mean by the
I think
coaches?
this is
His coach?
I think it's his coach. Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
I think it's Pete Julian being like, we don't want you doing the 400. Go there, just do one split of a 4x4, call it a day. Focus on, we're focusing on the 800 throughout the outdoor season. But I think this is an overthinking. It's a freaking 400. Donovan Brazier is a world class athlete. He can handle a 400. If he didn't want to do it, then all this is mute, and it's like whatever. He didn't want to do it, fine. But if he did want to do it, and you're like thinking like, oh no, I'm not sure if he should be running this 400 right now because we're thinking about what he's going to be in August or July of 2022. It's like overthinking it. And also, it's going to be the weirdest situation. I'm willing to say this is the first time ever in the history of USATF track and field where a person who finished either top 2 or top 3 based on indoor or outdoor opted to not run, but just stay in the relay. That has never happened. If it has, I would love to find out who has done it. But imagine someone getting second in the men's 100, right? And being like, no, I'm just going to do the 4x1. Just put me on leg 3. I'm good. And it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So I think it's weird. I don't know why. I'm sure people can ask him and he's going to have an explanation. I tried asking him. He kind of gave me a little bit of a runaround and being like, because I guess nothing was final yet at the time. But I don't know. I think it's kind of weird. I don't know what Donovan Brazier should run the 400. Like, who cares?
Mhm.
What's the okay? Let's just think about this. What would be a reason to not run the 400? What's the reason? Like when you're sitting down and be like, we're not going to do this. You have to have a reason for it. You're not just doing it randomly. What the reason
I think
to not run the 400?
okay. The reason here, because I agree. I want to see him run. Let me just put that out there, out front. But let me just play devil's advocate here. The reason is the whole goal going into the season was just to get into the 4x4 pool for this meet because you thought it would be fun, and it also plays to your advantage because you don't have to come out of the blocks. You get a running start, and you had to run the open 4 in order to do that at USA's. And you just so happened to get into second place, which qualified you for the individual race. But you know that your strengths are going to be in the 4x4. So you don't think that a medal is in the cards. So you just go to the 4x4 instead of the open 4.
Okay, so you think so the reason why is you don't think a medal is in the cards. You would rather go into a race where you
And
know you're probably going to win gold in the 4x4. Okay, not a medal in the
but here, hold on,
cards.
hold on,
That's bullshit. Because
hold on,
there is a
hold on,
medal
hold
in
on,
the
hold on.
cards in
Okay,
the
I
400.
know, but I'm saying a better chance at a medal. Look, coming out the blocks is not his forte because he's an 800-meter runner. So the whole goal was just 4x4, 4x4, 4x4. He had to run it to get to this point, and he qualified. But I don't think the intention was ever to run the open 4. I think that almost happened by accident. Here's my sorry. Go ahead, and then I'll let you finish your point. I interrupted. I'm sorry.
Yeah. My thing is, he's not going up against Michael Norman. He's not going up against Randolph
Right,
Ross. He's not going up against um,
Stephen Gardner.
Steven Gardner. I go on and on. He's not going up against 43-second guys. He's
Mhm.
going up against like consistent 44 high, 45 low type guys. And
Yeah,
Donovan Brazier can beat those type of guys. Donovan Brazier is probably going to split like 45 flat in the 4x4, maybe even 44 high. I predict because he's that talented. And so I think he could have won. I think he could have won, and it's just a weird thing. Like, what are we doing? Why do we do it? What like it's so weird that like you're like focusing your season around just making a relay but not doing the individual event. Like
Mhm.
I've expected he wants to do the relay in the first place. That's awesome because 800-meter runner, like that's cool. But it's like a weird
Yeah.
route to go about it. Like, I don't know. It's weird.
I think
Like,
if
is his
there was a
goal?
way, go ahead.
Like, is this also going to set him up for trying to make the outdoor 4x4? Like, because I don't know. It's just weird. I don't understand it. Track is weird.
Well, okay.
Of course, this happened.
Here's the argument from the Team USA side, and I know this wasn't their decision. He got to make this decision because it's not as if Team USA said, "Hey, you know how you got second? We're swapping you out for the guy who got third." That's not how it
Yeah.
works. Here's the argument for the Team USA side of things. So they have 2 people entered in the individual event, and then they have 3 people listed in the pool. At World Indoors, Gordon, 4x4 heats are in the morning on the last day, and the final is at night. You want Donovan Brazier on that team, fresh and healthy, because you want to be able to count on him for 2 different legs. And I think he's especially qualified to do back-to-back 400s on the same day. And there's only 5 guys. So only one guy's they're going to need all of them basically. They're going to use all of them on that day because if you assume Bassett and Washington are making finals, well that means the previous day they might be in a 400-meter final and then they're going to come back. So you're going to want to rest them in the morning, but you can only rest one of them, right? So you just don't have a ton of bodies. I mean, I guess you could use somebody in the 8. You could use Grant Holloway, maybe. You could use somebody in the 60. But from Team USA's perspective, I think you can count on him for 2 solid legs. So that's a bonus. But And we've seen Team USA lose this relay before. I don't know how much of a priority it is for them, but we've seen them lose this relay before.
It's not a priority. They're not thinking about strategy of the 4x4. They put
I
together the
would be.
4x1 20 minutes before it at the Olympic freaking games.
Yeah,
All
but
right. They're
that's
not
the
thinking
Olympics. This is
strategy
the
of
big
the
show. This is the
amount
World
of
Indoor
time
Championships. This is the big time.
between between a prelim and relay, like they're not going to know what leg they're running until
I
they
know.
get on the track and they'll be like, which one? You first, me, you, me. Okay, cool. All right, I'm going first. Like they're not. There's no mastermind to the USATF 4x4 at Worlds. I don't know. It's just a
I know. I'm
weird
just saying.
thing,
I wish
and
there was.
yeah,
I
I
wish
wish
there
there
was
was.
more thought.
It's just a weird thing, and I guess we'll find out. Eventually, we'll get an interview with Donovan. He'll say why. He'll give a reason, but um, hey, it's gonna be fine. He's gonna go to 4x4. They're gonna win, and that's that. But and at the end of the day, it's bickering over world indoors. So at the end of the day, Donovan kind of has a point. It's like it's world indoors, guys. Chill out. It's not that big of a deal. And he's
Yeah.
kind of right. It isn't that big of a deal. So
Yeah. Again, I think I think if he gets third U.S. indoors and he never even had the opportunity to be named to the individual team, this would be a completely moot point. Oh, he got on the relay pool? Sweet. An 800-meter guy running in the
yeah,
400 or in the 4x4. That's cool. And then we move forward from it. But yeah, it is a tad confusing because passing on an individual event like that to just run a relay is basically unprecedented. You like looking at tweets and speculating about them, Gordon. That's one of your pastimes, correct?
oh yeah, it's how I knew
All
Brody
right.
Hasty switched to NAU.
So this one's a little bit more obvious. So Under the Grass posts a tweet. It says hashtag new profile pic. Stay tuned. Dot dot dot. And then you click on it, his current profile pic, and you see that his uniform is blank. There's nothing there. What do you think this means?
I think it means he is retiring. No, I'm kidding. He's not retiring. um, First of all, I think it means he needs to update also his Twitter banner because if you go to his homepage of his Twitter,
Oh.
he's wearing a Puma shirt. So you missed.
So
He
maybe it's
forgot. You didn't get both of the photos. You only got one of them. But basically, what it means is he is announcing a new sponsor, and it's probably not going to be Puma because new profile pic without a Puma logo on it. Now, but hold on. That photo though isn't of him wearing Puma. That photo of him is him wearing his Canadian outfit because that's at the Olympics.
Mm,
So he
interesting.
didn't
Plot
actually.
thickens.
So maybe it's not leaving Puma. Maybe he's leaving Canada and he's coming a U.S. citizen
That would shake things up
because that's a
a
photo
bit.
of him in a Canadian kit. Are we going to see Team USA Andre DeGrasse?
Man.
I'm
If
kidding,
so,
but that
emergency
would be
emergency
amazing.
pod. Emergency pod if it happens. Let us know. This is a very anticipated new profile pic coming. Track and field world is waiting with bated breath to figure out what he's gonna do next. Yeah, it made me remember the Puma contract because that was one of the few contracts that was actually reported. It was like over $11 million, but they didn't say for how many years. And that was in 15, I want to say. Now things got because of the pandemic, things got screwed up and contracts got amended and changed. But because it was a high number, now we say high because it was one of the only ones we knew about. So there could be others that are just as high. I always thought, oh, that's 10 years probably, a 10-year deal. But we never actually knew because I went back and looked at all the clippings and it all just said multiple year. So
Yeah.
that could mean 7 years, that could mean 10 years, that could mean a lot of different periods in time. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. You introduced a new angle there that I didn't think about.
I mean, that's the thing because that is a photo from the Tokyo Games. He's not wearing a Puma kit in that photo,
Are you
and he
sure
blanked
it's a
it out.
photo from the Tokyo Games? Are you sure it's a photo
Yeah,
from the
look at the
Tokyo Games?
backdrop. That is Canada. That's not Canada. That is Tokyo signage in the back. 100%.
It does look like Olympic or World Championship signage. You're correct.
Yeah. So he also kind of looks kind of like cartoonish.
Yeah,
Like it looks like his skin is also painted over. Like they didn't just paint
it's
out
a.
the jersey; they paint out his entire body, like overall. Yeah.
What if it's not any of the things we're discussing, but it's just like I signed a new deal with the sunglass company?
Or what if it's an NFT? What if he's one? What if he's getting? You know how those NBA
Uh,
players are all buying those Bored Ape Club NFTs? Maybe he's making an NFT of himself. That could definitely be it. Is Andre DeGrasse
all right.
becoming a crypto bro with his NFTs?
If
Ethereum,
that's the case,
blockchain,
then we've
all over.
we've we've definitely overshot this segment. If that's the case,
It could, because that's what they do. When people buy these NFTs, they change their profile pic. He's trying to tease his new NFT collection.
wow, we went in from one direction to the entirely opposite direction. One that's an incredibly consequential move for track and field to where we are now. Okay. Other news. Let's see what else is here. Oh, I saw this. This is a interesting story. They're going to do team scoring and award team trophies for the World Championships for the first time ever. Here's how the scoring will work. It'll be combined men and women. First place is 8, all the way down to 8th place, which is 1 point. And again, the team that wins will get trophies. So this made me look up, hey, who usually wins the team competition? And if you're thinking Team USA, you are absolutely correct because they do keep these stats. They don't give out trophies, but they do keep these statistics. And by my count, they won the last 13 world championships and Olympics. It's never that close. 2015, the US had a historically bad time at those championships, and they still won 214 to 174. The last loss came in 2003 to Russia, 217 to 160. So I do like this. This is fun, and they're doing it for the top 3 teams, so there could be some battles there for second and third. One thing I wish they would have done, I wish they would have done a separate men's and women's competition just to involve more countries in it. Because if you have the US, who just because of the depth and breadth of their team is going to win, most of the time that takes some of the drama out of it. And if you cut the amount of events in half, you invite more teams in that could possibly win.
I agree with that. I also think they should have did the scoring 10, 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and not 8, 7, 6,
Mm,
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Like that's stupid. 10, 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is better. You get more credit for winning as opposed to just getting
you're
uh
right, right.
like yeah, anyway. So I think that the problem with this situation is that so technically everything is on an equal basis because everyone can only send a certain amount of people per event, right? So there's limits on events. So therefore, it is
Yeah.
equal because everyone only gets 3 slots, 4 if you have a wild card. I'm just trying to think of a way to come up with a new system that isn't going to be obviously USA every time. Like USA is going to win this every time. Like they're never
Yeah.
not going to win this, and that kind of sucks. You wish there could be a way to figure out how to make it so USA has to like be like earn it. I don't not that they're
Yeah.
not earning it. I get it's just like you kind of wish it wasn't so one sided. Like you mentioned, the last time they lost was to Russia, and Russia's not even in the World Athletics anymore. So like
Yeah.
you just kind of wish there was a way to score the team that wasn't obviously who knew the winner was going to be because then it's like who's going to win? And we know who's going to win. I think splitting up by
13
gender
in a
would help
row.
that a bit. So
Yeah. You want to shrink
13.
the amount of events because when you go back and you look at all these championships, there's years where the US didn't have the most gold medals. And there's years when the medal count is pretty close. The problem is the more this relies on depth, the US advantage just grows and grows and grows because 4 through 8, that's where having 3 people in virtually every event starts to pay off. So the way to make it closer would be to shrink the amount of people that are scoring, but that's a tough task. What this does highlight, and I was talking to a coach the other day about this, he brought points. Like if you did a team scoring at the Olympics and there was a team medal, USA track and field would be among the most dominant teams in history, right? Because as I just mentioned, relative to the world, if you score it
Yeah.
every single event, 13 titles in a row for USA. And in most cases, it's not close. Now, the US dominates a lot of different sports on the Olympic side of things, but track, it's hard to envision them losing going forward because it just seems like every time they're going to get three in every single event, and every time they're going to get close to 30 medals. And then you just do the math from there. It becomes very difficult for anybody to catch up.
So now here's the next question.
Mm.
If you make the world championship team for USA, you get knocked out in the first round, do you get to call yourself a world champion because your team won?
I think the trophy is just a team trophy. Yeah, it says team trophies. So it just goes to the coach, I think. So no, you don't get to. The coach gets to call themselves a championship coach. I don't think the
But
individual
like you're on
people are
that
like, yes,
team.
and I won a team title. Look at
That'd be a
me.
new
I
stat
won the team
line.
title.
It'd be like Ryan Krauser, 30-time team champion.
Team
'Cause
title.
he's just on every world
Yeah.
championship team.
Do you think in the future we could see this at the Olympics where they literally give out medals to everybody on the team too, and it's counted?
I doubt. I mean, yeah, I can see him doing it, but it's like participation points. Like, and the
Well, you
problem
have.
is that also we call it Team USA, but like they're not on the same team. Like
Mhm.
they just happen to live in the same square footage of land. Square miles of land. That's the only mean that make them team.
Interesting.
I mean, you could also say that for any track team, really, because I'm here at NCAA's, and even though you're on one team, they're all segmented. Like the high
Mhm,
jumpers
mhm.
aren't being coached by the same person that's coaching the 800-meter runners, and because they never really train together, when they're even here, they're kind of in their own little silos. Technically, they're wearing the same jersey. They might have one big group team meeting. At the end of the day, they're not really connected. So I feel like that's issue with track and field team sporting is that the events are so different from each other that there
Yeah,
will be a
yeah.
connection between the 400 to 100-meter guys and the short hurdle guys, and there will be a little bit of a connection between 1500-meter to 10K runners because it's the same event group. Same thing with jumpers, but uh, they don't train. It's not like you're the point guard and you're the shooting guard. It's not like a
Yeah.
basketball team where they're like intertwined. They're not connected. It would be connected if we decide this is how we can make it a real team championship. I just came up with a great idea. 18 events, and it's one giant relay. So you have a 100-meter, they hand off to a 200-meter runner, they hand off to a 400-meter runner, and you keep going. And then when you get to the field
Mhm.
events,
Yeah.
you hand the baton to the long jumper who
Mhm.
jumps a certain distance. They hand it off to the triple jumper who jumps a certain distance. Then shot put, it's about how far you go, right? Maybe start with the jumping because that's your head start when you get to the track. Then you end it with the marathon. That's the ultimate team championship. It's one giant relay, and it's like, go. I would watch that. I would 100%.
That
Even if you take away the field events, I would 100% watch the fastest runner in each event from one country. Just seeing freaking Canada versus America or whatever. And they just start, we're like, all right, we're starting with the 100, and then we're just getting longer and longer distance and seeing what happens. That'll be fun.
you know who wins that? You know who wins that relay
No.
on the men's side and women's side? Kenya, because it ends with a marathon, and Kipchoge is going to make up for the any deficit. There may not even be a deficit. But running 2/10
Do you think?
faster than the 100 doesn't really matter when Kipchoge is going to have the stick for 2 hours. I think he'll take care of that. Or Kosgei. Here's a better idea.
Yeah,
Here's a better
Kenya
idea.
would probably win.
You mentioned you have these delineated event groups. We should lean into that. So why don't we just have a sprint champion, a
Yeah,
distance champion, jump?
field
We could break
champion.
it up by jumps, or you can even do jumps and throws because there's enough throws to have its separate competition
Yeah, because that would
and
allow. Yeah,
other countries to get in the mix. It'd be kind of fun. And then the
because then you
U.S.
would see Jamaica win
U.S. would
and Kenya win.
so well, and it would be a double-edged sword for the U.S. because their depth would not work against them, but all of those third, fourth, and fifth place finishes wouldn't help that much. It'd be interesting. Someone, if you're bored, go back and score 2021 Olympics that way by event group and email us, flotrackpodcast@gmail.com. Maybe I'll do that when I'm on vacation. I'll try to figure it out. But like, there would have been years where obviously on the men's side, Jamaica would have dominated that.
Yeah,
And I mean, Kenya, Ethiopia, et cetera, et cetera. That'd be fun to watch, to follow throughout the course of the meet. Where would you put the hurdles? Separate, or would you throw them in with sprints hurdles?
hurdles goes to sprints. So it'd
So you
be
got the
1,
one,
2,
two,
4,
4,
and then
both
short
relays, and
hurdles
then
long
so
jump.
they'd have 7 events because you got to put both
Yeah,
relays in there too, right? And then the distance
yeah,
would have 8, 15, 5, steeple,
10.
10, marathon. So they would have 6. That works. And then you have the long jump,
Yeah, four,
high jump,
four,
triple
four
jump,
jumps.
pole vault. Yeah. And then
And the fourth.
you put the heptathlon with the jumps or the throws.
I'll put a heptathlon with the throws.
Okay.
Hey,
I like the idea.
you should be. You should knock on
A lot.
Sepco's door. Let him
And
know.
would you want to score it 8 deep, or would you just score it like medal table style, just top 3?
No, 8 deep, and then they change it to
Okay.
10, 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, not 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Not good.
All right. Still, team trophies. But if you have a chance, we can do one of the pick'ems right now. Will Team USA win the team title? Yes. Yeah, pick yes on that one.
Yes.
It was 263 to 106 last time. 2019, and that was when, remember, the U.S. struggled. U.S. struggled at the Olympics. Came up short in a lot of events. 263 to 106. 2019, 310 to 122. Some of the silver and bronze stuff would be close, but it's just not going to be close unless there's a drastic change in global athletic dominance. We also had, Gordon, the USA standards that were released. I don't know if any of these stuck out to you. This is for this year's U.S. championships. On the men's side, the 1 and the 2 are the same as the world championship standard itself, like the actual to get into the championships. These are the USA champ. These are the U.S. champ standards. Women's side, pretty similar. Like the sprint standards are what the world standards are, and then it slows down from there. But 337 flat for the men's 15, 405.7 for the women's 15. Women's 5 sticks out to me at 50. Was that 15-13? Because I remember not too long ago when, like, if someone ran 15-15 early season, you're like, ooh, they could be somebody. And now to get into the USA's, it's 15-13.
Yeah, but I also think in general, these distance marks, looking at, like, if you looked at them, like you said, 2 or 3 years ago, you're like, whoa, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But with the shoe technology, that's becoming normal. I mean,
Mm.
we're starting to normalize these faster marks. So I'm not really overwhelmed by any mark here.
Mm-hmm.
I think people are going to struggle to get that 337 men's 1500 meter mark. Not that many people run 336 because you see 337. Oh, it's like, oh, I people run 337,
Yeah.
but it's 337.00. So you have to actually run 336. And I
Yeah.
think there's going to be some people who struggle to get that.
Some people forget about the tenths, Gordon. Some people forget about the
Yeah.
tenths. That's always the big one, and the 10 and the 5 to a certain extent as well. And we've seen some field event standard issues in the past, but yeah, it is just interesting the difference, the sprint and the distance side of things, where there's no problem about meeting the standard because to get into USA's, they have to have run the standard. So no issue there for them. Just get top three.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
I've been hearing some rumblings here
Uh-oh.
at NCAA's. It's just an
About.
overall vibe.
Hold on. Hold on. Is there breaking news? You doing breaking news?
I don't know if it's breaking news. I could call it
Duke
breaking news and then you'll
lost.
get mad. Oh,
Breaking news. Breaking news. Duke has lost the game.
guys, it was a big deal. That was this news story all day that Duke lost their final home game. All right.
And it was
I mean, I think
broken
it's
by
breaking,
quarterback.
but all right.
Go ahead. What's your
Um,
vibe? What's the vibe at the net
so
that you're breaking?
talking to a bunch of coaches here, they are not happy with how the season ended because, and I think it's really highlighted by how quick times are. So it's mainly distance coaches, but obviously it was a record-setting top 16 mark in pretty much every distance event. Like
Yeah.
someone there was times that were 17th in the country that were like top 2 last year, right? It's been
Yeah.
stupid fast. And a lot of these marks also got done like at the end of the year and during conference
Mhm.
championship meet. And basically coaches are like, I'm going to my conference championship and I'm spending more time refreshing results around the country than trying to win my conference title with my guys, with my kids.
Mhm.
And it's like, that's not right. Why am I caring more about a top 16 descending order list from around the country than trying to win my conference title?
Mhm.
Why is an athlete who goes on to win their conference mile, finish the race, and says, I'm sorry, coach? It's like, you just won. He's like, well, I ran zero point 0.5 seconds too slow, so I'm not going to nationals. And he's like,
Mhm.
that's not right. Which I kind of have a point. Like, it is kind of weird. You go on to conferences, win it, and be like, sorry, coach. It's like, sorry, you freaking won. That's what. And basically, it comes down to with the standards, with the time, people running so fast and people jumping across the country, going to fast track here, flat conversion track there. The essence of just going to a track meet to try to win it is like
Yeah.
kind of leaving the picture. People are running regular season for just being top 16 and not running the regular season to win the race that they're in. And I think there's reasons for this. I communicate like, yeah, it's because it's shortened season. It's because it's only top 16. Outdoors, 96 people get to go to
Right.
regionals. So it's a lot easier to be in the top 96 than top 16. And so there's definitely factors in with people running fast. It feels it feels weirder because you're like seeing you go into the year thinking if I coach a 7:48 3K runner, that's amazing, and
Mhm.
they're going to NCAAs, but now that they're like 30th. So there's just a sense from the coaches that they kind of are frustrated with the qualifying procedure for NCAA indoors, and that it's
Mhm.
kind of taken away from the essence of racing, and that the sport that those 2 months are just like overwhelmed with
Mhm.
results tracking and not racing. So that was interesting.
But that's been the case for years now. People flying across the country, teams going to multiple meets on a weekend, the lack of
Yep.
dual, tri, quad type meets. Is the difference now you just don't know what it takes? And before, you at least knew what it took so you could bank a time early on. And then you say, okay, now let's focus on competition because you have the time. And then now no one knows what to expect.
I think in general there was like not research, but there was an understanding. You kind of had an idea of what it took.
Yeah.
So while you're still chasing times, you kind of knew when you're safe. But with these shoes coming into the mix, these coaches have yet to recalibrate to actually what what it takes is. And
Yeah.
this was the first year of them being caught off guard with what it takes. I mean, we had coaches thinking that, Dave Smith was like 928 is safe in the DMR. And we were like, maybe
Mhm.
it's not. And it clearly wasn't. It's a good thing he ran again 3 weeks later and they ran
Yeah.
like 924 and they're in, or whatever they ran, 920 something. But I think it's because the coaches were all caught off guard with this season.
Okay.
Like,
So I see.
because they were. I
I
mean,
see.
we were. Like
Yeah.
90 kids are breaking 4 minutes in the mile. Like, it's incredible.
So I see three possible solutions to this. One, everybody just gets used to the times because the shoe stuff slows down, and then we just revert to what it was a couple of years ago. Similar scenario. People are still flying all over, but you at least know what it takes and you can bank it. Two, they actually change. They try to mimic the outdoor season where more people get in and they have a qualifying meet, so that way you don't need to run as fast the time of the regular season. You can focus on um, the other meets. Or I guess a more extreme example would be that. And this is one thing we talked about at the beginning of COVID when we were talking about NCAA teams being strapped for cash and just or is this just going to turn into 4 super conferences out there for D1? And if it does, then you could just do a straight qualification from those 4 super conferences, and then that solves the problem. Maybe you have a couple at larges, but then everybody just qualifies out of conference. That doesn't look like it's going to happen. Or the third and final one, you lock the times at a certain point, and that's pre-conference. So then conference, you could just focus on competition and make it a little more even. But with the season being so short, taking away a chance to qualify doesn't seem likely. Which one of those scenarios do you think it'll end up being? I mean, I have my money on the first one.
Yeah, I mean, no change is going to happen. That's always where you should put your money because when you have to get a bunch of coaches to agree to something, you're going to always have someone. It's like government. You can never get everyone on the same page for any
Right.
change because everyone's like, that affects me differently. Nope. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, coaches were throwing out ideas like you can't like get rid of last chance meets where like once you have your conference meet, you're done. You can't do anything after a conference meet.
Okay.
Which I don't know if I like that because it's like, okay, that's weird. Well, all right. And then another one was like, what was the other one? Oh, this was interesting. You only can run only times on banked 200-meter tracks count. So you can't
Yeah.
go to a flat track or 300-meter track or an altitude track. And you can do that. You can run those times, but it doesn't count towards qualification, which I was
Mhm.
like, obviously that gives an advantage for people who are
Yeah,
near those
exactly.
tracks.
Yeah.
And they say, well, there's so many of these 200-meter tracks now. It's fine. Like there used
Mhm.
to be a time we have so many more indoor tracks than we used to have. So it's okay,
Yeah.
which I don't know if that's true. And then another one, which I thought was crazy, is your mark only counts if everyone in the field is a college kid. So you
It's just
can't
so
be
tough.
rabbited by pros.
Yeah. All right. Well, that one actually, if you told that rule to somebody who has no knowledge of track and field, that would make total sense to them because they'd be like, wait, why
Yeah.
are pros competing in a college race and helping a college? Like, you're getting an advantage out of that because you're helping
Yeah.
that college kid qualify for a meet. They can go and score points and they can win an NCAA title. That one actually, it doesn't, to us, we're like, no, that wouldn't work because what are you going to do with this meet and that meet and this meet and that meet? You're going to make
Yeah.
this person run it at Milrose? They're not going to be allowed to run at Milrose, but they're faster than all the pros. They should be able to run at Milrose.
Yeah.
But if you're not involved in the track world, it's like, of course, that makes sense. I think the problem with all these is track is just still this unwieldy big sport, a lot of different constituencies, a lot of different needs being met. And you make one change and you piss off one group, and you do another change and you piss
Yeah.
off another group. The track thing is a perfect example. Well, not everybody has access to track. Not everybody has um, the ability to travel all over the country or send their team in multiple different places. Some of these schools at altitude, well, you have to give them a conversion, right? But then the non-altitude schools are like, well, the conversion is too much. or you're to flat track. Well, that conversion is off. It's either too slow or too fast. With
Yeah.
regular track, outdoor track, there's only one way they build those tracks in general, at least in the distance of the track around. You still have the altitude factor, but you're right. You're qualifying so many people that the time element is lessened. So yeah, my thought is that it's just going to stay where it is because any change is just going to have as much push and pull. But going back to your cross country idea from way back when, having a multiple step qualification process would be helpful. Like it would level the playing field in one sense, but it also just have a hard time figuring out how that's going to fit into this small window of time that they have for indoors.
I mean, why don't we do this? Just thought of this right now. You ready? It's not top
One
16
big
at
relay.
qualify. It's not top 16 at qualify. It's top 64 at qualify in every event. No one's going to complain that their 65th ranked athlete's not in, right? Because it's like, all right, well, you come on, you could be top 64 if you wanted to. All right, so you got rid of the complaints. Boom. All right, when do you want? How do you find a winner out of 64? I'll tell you.
Regionals.
First weekend of March Madness, you host a track meet, and you wheel the field down to 32, and then the next weekend of March Madness, because there's 3 weekends of March Madness, you wheeled the field down to 16. And then the final weekend of March Madness, you have your NCAA field. And so we really just hijacked March Madness. We host the track meets at the locations of NCAA basketball. And then we just piggyback off of their publicity. And then we have a bunch of basketball fans coming to our track meet. We'll have like LeBron James sitting trackside watching the triple jump. It's going to be great.
So, yeah, that won't happen. But starting at 64, though, is interesting because you could go 64 down to 32, and then you could go 32 all the way down to the final from there. Couldn't you?
Yeah. Do that.
So that way, the championship weekend is just one little, like it's one session, basically, or I guess two short sessions. You could do it that way. I guess you just have to back everything up, and then the problem is like indoors just jammed in there. Indoors just jammed in between cross and outdoor, and there's just not a lot of wiggle room for it.
I don't think you. Yeah,
you want to you extend it all the way to April.
Well, maybe you should just tell people to run more in January. Coaches are just arbitrarily deciding like, I can't be fit now. I have to be fit later. I don't know.
Yeah. You need to do another pod on this. You should do a pod on this.
Coaches are.
You should do an NCAA track show on this.
Sorry, keep interrupting you. Sorry. Coaches have designed that only 2 weekends matter: mid-February and beginning of February / end of January. Why? Because that's just how we do it. 2 weeks out of conferences, 4 weeks out of conferences. That's just that's the cycle we go on. That's the way it works. Sorry. I don't know. Remember that time you did a really hard workout on a Tuesday? Maybe host a track meet that day. Instead of doing that hard workout on Tuesday, host a track meet. Boom. Done. We have a workout Wednesday series where we host all these track meets on Wednesdays. And instead of running the workout, we actually put a fully automatic timer on the track, and then we record it, and it's official, and then that's your time. Obviously, I'm joking a little bit here, but maybe not. I don't know. I think track is just, it's a weird sport where we kind of overcomplicate it, and coaches are going to complain that we're not getting back to the essence of just racing. But you do have to admit the coaches are part of the problem because they train their athletes to, be under raced, and, overthink it about strategy and this, that, and the other thing. It's like, I don't know.
All right. We'll leave it there. Enjoy the indoor meet that you're at, though, Gordon.
I am.
Enjoy that meet. don't let all that stuff take away from the fact that you're at your first track meet in 2 years. Do the FloTrack pick'em. Subscribe to the FloTrack podcast YouTube page, the FloTrack YouTube page. Gordon will be doing on-site coverage. Then he's gonna have some world previews. I'll be off next week, but Gordon is gonna make sure to do a terrific job. Thank you to Colt. Thank you to Travis. Thank you to our sponsor, Hoka. Remember, Hoka.com. Faster forward. Get those CLO MDs and LDs. Gordon, you have any last thoughts?
Trivia question for you. Can you guess what is keeping my Hoka shoe up? What is it sitting on? Get
Is
one
it
guess.
a
I'll do a reveal.
empty trash can?
No.
That's what I
Well,
usually
do you
use.
want a second guess?
Bottle.
It is a bottle. It's a water bottle.
Whoa.
Look at that thing.
Very good.
It's just floating, sitting on the water bottle. That's kind of cool. How it
Carbon
just
on
can
top
sit
of the
right
water
there.
bottle.
Boom, right
impressive.
there. Anyway,
Didn't wobble at all. I would have knocked it over a couple times. Impressive mic control by you two, Gordon. Enjoy the meet,
it
everybody.
can spin. There you go.
Peace.